Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the writing assessment for functional skills. Now this is going to be designed for anyone that is studying either level 1, level 2 or even entry level functional skills. Specifically this video is going to look at getting to grips with spelling, grammar and punctuation, and again it's all going to narrow down to the writing assessment. Now if you haven't done so already, please can you like and subscribe, it really does help us out when you do so. So the first thing we need to understand is what is spelling, punctuation and grammar. Now often when teachers are giving feedback we often write this simply down as SPAG. So this refers to the technical accuracy of our writing. Now without being able to do this effectively it will affect our writing in the following ways. So it will mean that our communications will be harder to understand. So this are things like when you're communicating via email as well, especially during the workplace, it's really easy to misconstrue a message, especially if the punctuation, the spelling or the grammar hasn't been used effectively. Reduce our ability to communicate effectively, affect employment prospects, and of course not gain high marks in the writing exam. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to recall some key spelling rules, understand how to plan an effective response, and finally, apply your understanding to attempt a practice writing assessment. Spellings. Look at the words below and identify the 3 words that are spelled correctly. Now this is a very typical thing that you might do if you're on the entry level 3 course. However, these are also some key words that people get spelled incorrectly when they're doing the writing assessment all the time. So it's really important that you go over these and you make sure you're able to spell them correctly. So the first word we're looking to spell is tomorrow. So you've got 3 different versions of this one. All you need to do is identify which one has the correct spelling. The second set of words then is immediately. The next set of words then is devastated. Then we have accommodation. And then finally we've got necessary. If you'd like to pause the video here and go through it at your own time, please feel free to do so. These are some very tricky words, especially when you think about them that have the double letter in them. It can be very easy to get them confused as well. Now, if you can stretch and challenge yourself, try and recall a spelling rule to help you remember how to spell any of these words. If you're not too sure about them, just do your best kind of working out from what you can see there, and we will go through them in a moment in the next part of the video. Class feedback. Check your understanding against the answers and attempt the challenges that follow. So here now you should be able to see the table, and we have our answers for the keywords on the left hand side, and also we have a tip or a trick to learning how to spell these words. Okay, so for example we go with tomorrow. Tomorrow is actually a compound word, which means it's made up of 2 different elements. We have to and then morrow, and you can also use something called meomics as well, which is something we use to help sound out or figure out how to actually spell a key word. Immediately, again the trick or the tip to use would be to use meonics for this one, and we're going to go through a little bit more detail about how to break it down in that way. Devastated. Now devastated is a really good one because many people would have been shown to break a word down into the syllables. Now if you're not sure what we mean by this is the kind of thing that teachers would have got young children to do when they're sounding out their names, and normally they get them to either tap or bang on the table each time a syllable comes up in the word. So you can see with the word devastated that can be broken down into 4 parts. We have dev, ast, date, et, and all of those are key things to think about when you're trying to spell the word. Next we have accommodation. There's no real big trick to remembering how to spell this word, you just need to try and remember that it has 2 C's and 2 M's. It's one of those words that really doesn't look quite right when you first look at it. You just need to be aware that that is actually how you spell it. And then finally we have necessary. Now necessary is one of the most commonly misspelled words, especially in functional skills, so it's really important that you learn how to spell that. And we're going to go through that in a little bit of time as well. So the first thing to think about is to have a go at the challenge, so use the keywords to predict the focus of today's lesson. And then the super challenge. What are synonyms and meonics? Have you heard of these before, and do you know what they actually refer to? If you're not too sure about these, however, don't worry too much, because we're going to go through them in a bit more detail now. Class feedback. Check your answers against the ones below. So first thing then, our lesson topic is going to be writing a letter of complaint to a landlord. So hopefully some of those words that we looked at, we're going to give you a bit of a hint or an indication about what we're going to focus on. Syllables. So syllables are often considered the phonological sound that are like building blocks of words. So this is the kind of thing that we use to help sound out or to count the beats that happen within a word. And then mnemonics. So this is a language device that allows us to recall how to spell a difficult word. Now, if you did grow up in the UK, then you've probably heard one or two of these already. One of the most common ones, for example, is how to spell because. So the rhyme or the sentence that we use to spell because is big elephants can't use small exits. And that is just a simple way to break down a word and an easy way to actually understand how to spell it as well. So what we're going to do now, we're going to try and stretch and challenge ourselves, look at the images on the next slide and work out the spelling rule for each of the complicated words that we looked at. So first thing I'd like you to do then is just look at the images and work out what the mnemonic will be to help you remember the word necessary. Now with any good mnemonic, every single letter within the word necessary is going to stand for a bigger word. Okay, so each one of these, so N, E, C, E and so on, are going to stand for an individual word by themselves that's going to help us to remember how to spell the word appropriately. So this is the one we're going to use. So necessary, never eat crisps, eat salad sandwiches and remain young. And you can see there we've highlighted in red each of the key letters that you need in order to spell necessary correctly. Okay, sometimes people find this helpful to use this kind of strategy to spell words. Sometimes it doesn't quite work for people. It really is about finding the own way that it makes sense to you and can help you within your writing assessment. Next then, we're going to look at how to spell the word immediately. Now as a mnemonic, it's not one that I particularly like. However, it is something that can help us overcome quite a difficult word, so it is still important to look at and to remember as well. So immediately, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen, in my mind's eye, don't I always truly everlastingly love you? So that's just one way to remember how to spell this word. And if you think about your writing assessment, what we're looking for is that you have a good standard of spelling. So not only can you spell the basic words correctly, but are you actually stretching yourself with the higher forms of vocabulary, and are you having an attempt to spell those more difficult or tricky words? Finally, our last one then. So we have our three images again, and we're trying to spell the word tomorrow. Now, this might seem like quite an obvious word, but you'd be surprised by the amount of people that get it wrong in the writing assessment. So to spell tomorrow, we're going to say trails of my old red rose over window. And again, that's just one way of breaking up the word. Now, if these things are actually helpful to you, please do let us know. Give us a comment if you'd like to see more of them. If it doesn't work that much, we're going to keep looking at some different spelling rules to keep getting people over this and getting them more used to spelling words correctly. Now that we've taken a look at how to spell some of those difficult words, we're going to now apply that to a typical writing question. So if we look at the writing task then, it says, your friend is having trouble with their landlord, Mr. Jones. The property they are renting has a number of issues that are causing your friend distress. Write a letter on your friend's behalf to help them resolve the issues they're having. In your response, you could include the price of the rent, problems with the property, e.g. leaks or mould, noisy neighbours, and how you think the problem should be resolved. So the first thing to do whenever you're faced with a writing task like this is to first of all break it down, and we're going to do that by identifying the TAP of the exam question. Now hopefully by now you're aware of what we mean when we say the TAP, and it means the topic, the audience and the purpose. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to think about actually narrowing this down. I'm going to highlight the key elements of the question. So the topic is going to be about some issues that are causing distress, and it's about a property they're renting. Now that would just be the topic, okay? The audience is who we're writing it to, and we can see there it's been given to us in the brackets of Mr. Jones, and then the purpose would be how we think the problem should be resolved. Okay, so we're trying to come up with an actual solution. We're not just writing to moan at them, we're actually going to think about how it can be resolved and try to speak to them in a logical and sensible manner. Okay, the next thing to think about would be to come up with 3 or more ideas to complain about. Now typically you're going to aim to write about 200 to 250 words for the writing assessment, so about 3 ideas plus an intro and a conclusion will be more than enough. And then the mega challenge, I want you to think about which DeForest techniques would be effective for this type of writing. So if you're not too sure about the kind of DeForest techniques that you'll use, please do check out our next video that's coming literally 24 hours after this one's been posted. So please do look out for it. It's going to go through the actual writing question in more depth and help you break it down just that little bit more so you can attempt the writing question really effectively and make sure we can understand how to get a pass. If you need any additional support or help, the new videos will be added every single week. Alternatively, you can leave us a comment below or visit our partner channel Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and guidance on all things English. Thanks ever so much for listening guys, and all the best with your work and your revision in the future. Bye bye.